Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 889. 89 for the 19th of October 2025. Richard Saunders coming to you from Maynard's International Studio in the canteen section here. Maynard's just cooked me some ham and eggs and coffee and toast for breakfast. Hello, Maynard.
Hello, 89. What a great year. Pump up the jam, pump up the jam, pump it up, pump it really up.
Did I say 1989 or
No. You said 89, but 89, any chance I can get to mention the work of 2 Unlimited or anybody like that. 89, what a year.
89, a lot happened in 1989.
Oh, yeah. You had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film came out, live action film came out, lots of things, yes.
It was a big year. Now, this is a big year, and this is a big show coming up. We're going to be looking at auras, Maynard. We're going to be trying to look at auras.
Kirlian photography is involved in that, I believe.
Yeah, that's one of the claims. We're looking at a picture here on your wall of Olivia Newton-John, and she's on roller skates with a sort of an aura behind her.
That's the box cover of the Blu-ray of the Xanadu movie. And, of course, I've got the 4K of that, which looks fantastic. But the Blu-ray was all we had for a long time. So, and, of course, I got a cardboard cutout made, a life-size Olivia Newton-John card, which I call Olivia Cardboard John, of that image on the front cover of the Blu-ray there, and I'll just be working with that in a few minutes because you're here for the production of a very Maynard Christmas. Today is Christmas Day for me, I know. So, I hope Santa brings me something nice.
I'm sure he will. Yes, I'm here to do some filming. That's your other producer now on the line, I guess. Anyway, yes, we're going to be looking at auras. What's the deal? Do they exist? Can people see them? Can people photograph them? But after that, speaking of auras and New Age and everything, I catch up with Annie McCubbin from the Why Smart Women podcast and our new reporter Kate Thomas as we decompress and detoxify from mind, body, spirit.
Oh, yes. Look, I believe she had some very interesting things to say about what was going on at that particular festival. And I think Aura is actually one of the code names for one of the space planes or something that the Americans operate. It's either Aura or Aurora or something like that.
Aura something else.
Something like that. Aura something else, yes. Yes. And look, we're actually doing a bit of paleontology here today at Maynard National Studios because I've got a lot of inflatable dinosaurs.
I saw, yeah.
Which I've been blowing up and everything, and they're doing pretty good. I've been looking, if anyone knows out there where you could get from the Doctor Who, and I know I'm speaking to Doctor Who fans here, are there any large inflatable Nymons from, from the Tom Baker episode?
Ooh,
yes, that's
yes.
right, the Nymons. I'd like an inflatable Nymon, which would be great.
Is that code for something? Anyway, to round off the show, we have the Trove Archive looking more at references to CSICOP, the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal. But there's more, Maynard.
Look, you spent a lot of time in that archive looking around.
I do.
You haven't even really hit the bottom. What's the most unusual publication you've been drawn to that had something in it that I didn't even know?
There's some obscure student magazines from the 80s and things like that. There's socialist magazines from various times in history.
I'm waiting for Picture Magazine, the Ironworkers' Bible, as they used to call it, Picture Magazine, which was, of course, sort of like a lads' magazine for our English listeners, but it didn't really take itself particularly seriously. And they even had a homeboys section where your husband could turn up in his underwear, but he had to wear a paper bag on his head. And I thought, well, that's reverse sexism in some ways, I guess. A great magazine, the Picture Magazine. I was on the front cover once.
You were. What was the biggest dag in Australia?
I believe, is this Australia's biggest bozo?
That's right. Well, that's an easy question to answer. But also, let me just say, speaking about Annie McCubbin, in the past week, I was a guest on her podcast, Why Smart Women. So if people go to that podcast, you can hear me rabbiting on about Mind, Body, Wallet and all sorts of other things.
And what was the demographic of the people at Mind, Body, Spirit Festival this time? It's usually majority women, but is it 60, 70% or 90? What would you put? 75
to 80%, and age range was anywhere from late teens up to elderly, but mostly around the 30, 40 mark, I think.
And what was the thing that really grind your gears the most?
You will hear it on the podcast.
Okay.
A certain patch.
It's a tease.
A miracle patch.
It's a tease and a throw forward, Pete.
It's a throw forward, that's right. I forgot to mention, the Loons from Canada are on the show later on as the Easter egg, doing a dice game with special guest Psychic Penny. And one more thing before we start the show I will mention is that I discovered just yesterday that somebody in the UK, presumably, has published on YouTube very good, decent copies of James Randi, Psychic Investigator TV show from 1991. I'll link to that in the show notes. It's a great series.
Oh, and the quality's great too, but compared to what's been available online, it's always worth dropping back into YouTube or places like that every once in a while to see if your favourite shows have been put up in good quality. And I want to thank Richard, the Maynard International Studios, for feeding the magpies that live here.
I did. Crickets.
Crickets. You've fed them crickets, and I've got a little fledgling one that's just wandering around now. And I think it could grow up to be a skeptic because it wouldn't come anywhere near you, Richard. It was very skeptical of you.
Anyway, it's time for you and I to raid the fridge one more time. Maybe another slice of crumpet. Can you have a slice of crumpet or a whole crumpet? Something like that.
That's going to look. The whole muffin versus crumpet debate is a very lively one. It's even more lively than the Marmite versus Vegemite people, or Picard versus Kirk. You don't want to go anywhere near that. It's a schism you don't want to touch. So I'm not going to touch that. But all I can say from Maynard International Studios, Merry Christmas.
Okay, and while we do that, we hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
Oh, don't tell me you don't believe in Christmas either, Richard. God, you skeptic.
Auras. Do you have an aura? Do you have an aura about your person? Does the aura radiate from your body to, about a foot or so, maybe a bit more, depending on who you talk to, of course. Maybe it extends meters, kilometers, who knows? The aura, the energy field, the human energy field is a long-standing trope of the New Age, with various mystics and others claiming they can see your aura, or if they can't, they can take a photograph of your aura with special cameras. And you see these frequently at New Age festivals, especially at the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival. And indeed, when I was visiting there just last week, there was the stand with aura photography. Get your aura photograph taken. It's developed on the spot via a Polaroid picture, and then you can sit down with a intuitive, clairvoyant, psychic, mystic, take your pick, who will examine your aura and give you a reading. Now looking through my archives, my digital archives in the folder called Aura. How about that? I've got a flyer here I've picked up somewhere along the way from some sort of New Age festival, I imagine. See Your Aura. And the photograph on the front of the flyer is a lady in front of the camera, and above her head is an aura extending out about, almost a meter, something like that. And here's what it says. Your colours reveal ... your personality, your energy. Oh, what would the New Age do without the word energy? New aura field photography actually measures your energy field and displays it with lights and colours. We show you your strong points, the way you express yourself, future energies coming to you. Then it says includes interpretation. Well, how about that? Aura photographics, and there's a phone number there, and an address in Bulimba, Queensland. That's page 1. Page 2, on the other side of the flyer. Colour interpretations. Red. The first colour of the spectrum represents fire, passion, and vitality. Orange. This colour relates to ambitions, drive, and lateral thought. Self-expression is important. Yellow. The colour of intellect. Yellow also shows an affinity to variety and happiness. Green, the central colour of the spectrum. Green signifies balance. Healing and teaching are enhanced. Blue, love, peace and truth are associated with blue, showing an ability to demonstrate sensitivity and contentment. Violet, the mystical, magical colour. Eroticism, charm and enhancement can appear with violet. White, a combination of all the colours representing the ability to tap into all energies. Okay, and this flyer is from one Annette O'Brien, Aura Photographics. And a quick Google search doesn't come up with anything in particular about this flyer, or that business. I might have collected that many years ago. I didn't write the date on it, nevertheless. However, what it does come up with when I do a search is Mind Body Spirit Festival, Aura Photographics, Sydney. Let's have a look. Mind Body Spirit Festival, Sydney. Aura Photographics. Aura Photographics. Unlock the mysteries of your inner self with Aura Photographics. Since 1991, we have been capturing the vibrant colours of auras in the USA, India, Japan, Thailand, New Zealand, Poland, Hong Kong and Australia. Our advanced technology allows everyone to see their own aura, providing valuable insight into emotional, mental and spiritual states. Explore the captivating world of energies with aura photography today. For inquiries, contact us via email, and there's further details there. And we have a variety of examples here on the page flashing by me of people seated in front of the camera and a kaleidoscope of swirly colours surrounding them. So spoiler alert, these auras simply don't exist. But if they don't exist, then what is appearing on these photographs? Well, these photographs are produced in a variety of ways. One is a simple computer program which simply takes the photograph and overlays the aura randomly and then produces a photograph. The other method is the aura camera itself will inflict lights, if that's the right word, colours, swirls upon the Polaroid picture. In other words, however they're produced, they are fake. And we can say that with confidence because the human aura simply does not exist. If it did exist, we would know about it by now. Science would be well aware of it. And these aura cameras would not be a mystery. We would understand the type of energy involved, the frequency of the energy involved, if that's the right way to put it, the nature of the energy, I should say. But of course, to the New Age believers, it makes perfect sense that there's some sort of mystical aura emanating from the human body. And indeed, there are some people who claim to see the aura with their naked eye. And getting back to the photography, Joe Nickell, the late great Joe Nickell, did a test one day at a spiritual fair where he had his aura photograph taken, then came back a bit later and had it taken again, only to discover that the two photographs were different colours, different patterns, different swirls. In 1991, I think it was, on the television show James Randi, Psychic Investigator, he put an aura reader to the test. This person claimed they could see the human aura. So what he did was he had some volunteers stand behind a screen. The aura reader, intuitive, whatever, agreed that he could still see the aura above the screen, even if he couldn't see where the people were. That's all on YouTube. Anyway, the result was, of course, when put to the test, he got no better than random chance when deciding if a person was behind a particular part of the screen or not. I suffer occasionally from something called aura migraines, where my vision is heavily affected. I know these are coming on if I'm reading especially, and I can't quite see the words anymore. And within 2 to 5 minutes, a rip in the fabric of space appears right across my vision. And it sparkles and it's glittering and it grows. And I just have to stop and rest and wait for it to eventually dissipate within 15 to 20 minutes. And it's speculated that some people may have had these in the past and associated this with some sort of mystical event where it's just a known physiological condition. It's not painful, I'm glad to say, but it is somewhat disconcerting. Now, an interesting question about the aura photography is, and this question comes up so often in the New Age, are the people there at the stand at the New Age Festival doing the aura photography, are they complicit in a scam? Or are they duped themselves, thinking that this wondrous technology actually does reveal a human aura? The people behind the products, the people who put them together, manufacture them, are under no illusions. Now let's just go back to what I was saying before when I was reading out that flyer listing the different colours and their meaning. I noticed that Joe Nickell, in his article in the Skeptical Inquirer, also mentions these colours as explained to him at the time of this article. And indeed, I've found the reference here. This is from a New Age fair he went to in July 1999. And it says here, and quoting Joe, "I soon received a colour Polaroid photograph plus a printout arrayed with letters that indicated colour areas, B for blue, G for green, etc. These roughly correlated with the areas of coloured light in the photo. The photograph," and there's a photograph here of Joe sitting in front of the camera, his upper half, but his face is sort of washed out here. It says, "The photograph showed such an intense energy field," and that's in quotation marks, "of yellow bordered white light that it washed out my facial features. The printout designated this area as yellow and interpreted it as sunny exhilaration. Small areas of green, healing, teaching, were shown on either side. One of the enterprise's, quote, experienced certified aura imaging counselors, end quote, told me that the bright area of light showed I had prominent spiritual qualities." It's a very interesting article, and that's available online, so I will link to that in this week's show notes. I will also link to the televised test that James Randi did way back in about 1991 on UK TV, where he looked at testing an aura reader. I shall also link to the article at the Skeptics Dictionary on auras, which starts off saying an aura, according to New Age metaphysics, is a coloured outline or set of continuous outlines allegedly emanating from the surface of an object. It goes on to say in the New Age, even the lowly amoeba has an aura, as does the mosquito and every lump of goat dung. The aura supposedly reflects a supernatural energy field or life force. Very vague terms again. And the words put together, energy and field. An energy field is more or less meaningless. And as Brian Dunning points out in Here Be Dragons documentary, it's something really out of Star Trek. The aura, especially the human aura, a mainstay of the modern New Age. Maybe it can be seen as a bit of fun to sit down and look at something that people tell you is your aura. But at the end of the day, since it doesn't exist, well, are they engaging in consumer fraud? Maybe their aura can tell them that.
Hi, I'm Leslie Rosenblood, host of Podcast for Inquiry, the official podcast of the Centre for Inquiry Canada. Every 2 weeks, I bring you a conversation with an expert on some complex subject, which we discuss with intelligence and nuance. The goal is that you come away with more than just a surface-level understanding, as well as an appreciation for a genuine spirit of inquiry. If your intellectual curiosity extends to science, religion, philosophy, economics, humanism, politics, and more, subscribe to Podcast for Inquiry today. Available anywhere you get your podcasts. A video form is also available on YouTube on the Centre for Inquiry Canada's channel. I look forward to welcoming you to the inquiring community.
Today is Sunday, the 12th of October. It's a little after 10:30 in the morning, and I'm at the tram stop, the nearby tram stop, to catch a tram down to Darling Harbour to attend once more the Festival of Mind, Body, Spirit. And I'll be meeting at the festival our new reporter Kate Thomas and Annie McCubbin from the Why Smart Women podcast. It's a really warm day. I expect that the festival will be quite crowded, being a Sunday and the last day of the festival for the next 6 months. And although I can't really record much from inside the event itself, I hope to catch up with Annie and Kate maybe before or after the event for their thoughts and opinions. What woo shall we find today? I'm coming to you from the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival. I'm wandering around with Kate Thomas and Annie McCubbin, and it's like having a couple of kids in Wonderland here. They're gobsmacked, but they're spending money on really nice clothes and things too. Anyway, our adventure continues. Welcome to the Why Smart Women Skeptic Zone crossover podcast with Annie McCubbin.
Oh, Richard, I like that. It's the amalgamation that everything is of everything that is good in podcast land, right?
It is. We're here also with our relatively new reporter, Kate Thomas. Hello, Kate.
Hi, Richard.
You two look like you're fried, both of you. We've just come out of Mind, Body, Wallet. And it was both exhausted, and for the both of you, it was your first experience. Now we've had time to. What we're doing now is we're about to have a coffee. We're detoxing from mind, body, spirit, aren't we?
I'm getting rid of the parasites that that seem to accumulate in me while I wandered through it. I've never been to the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival before, and I was stunned to learn that's up every 6 months. I could not go every 6 months. That's going to take me 6 months to recover from the shock of that.
Well, it does take you 6 months to recover. Then you go back, you see.
We also discovered the very sad news that Kate Thomas has no stem cells, and I feel bad about that. Kate, tell us about that.
Kate, what's the story?
I was in the process of being spiritually cleansed and healed and reborn, and asked a gentleman to explain to me the patch that he was selling, and he said it was because I had no stem cells.
It's just mean.
That's so mean. I really feel like I have great stem cells. Anyway, but I can wear his patch, and my own body's ultraviolet light will activate the matrix. It was a crystal matrix in the patch, which gets activated by my internal body's light.
And that helicopter.
Yeah. And it will then regenerate my stem cells, which I need because I don't have any.
Yeah. And I sensed you didn't have any, and I've been concerned about you. But now that he's confirmed, I can see what the problem has been, but you're going to get a patch. So just to explain to our dual listeners what we were doing, why would a bunch of skeptics be at the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival, which Richard calls the Mind, Body, Wallet Festival, and for very good reasons? Yeah. Did you vote? Did you?
I fell for the Mind, Body, Wallet. I've come away with some lovely yoga pants.
Yeah. Kate actually came away with quite a lot of stuff, didn't you, really? Richard and I thought, were quite frugal. No, Richard bought a T-shirt that says Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, Mind, Body, Spirit Festival. So back to my original question, which is, why would we bother going to something which is fairly antithetical to our belief systems? I'll let Richard answer that.
It's, from my point of view, it's very important to go to this thing as often as possible. I mean, we're all skeptics. We all should know what we're dealing with and talking about. It's no good. A lot of the times the skeptics are accused. Thank you. This is my coffee. Quite throwaway line saying, "Oh, you armchair skeptics, you don't know anything." Right, where we're the ones going out and investigating and discovering. So every 6 months, time permitting, or if I can make it, I'll go and I will ask questions. And that's exactly what you were doing today.
We did go and we did ask questions, and I think it's good having Kate come along because Kate actually knows science things, don't you?
I know some science things. I know that yeast isn't bacteria, so I know that much. And but I was saying to Richard, I was trying to approach it with the right attitude, and not from a higher than thou kind of holier than thou. Thank you, Annie. Kind of approach, and there was a lot of good. There was some good vibes in there. There are some good vibes, but the problem with the good vibes is that amongst the good vibes, there's some pseudoscience health issues, like the patch that I was talking about before, which will regenerate my stem cells, but will also then cure my cancer. And that's not okay. That's not all right. It's one thing for yoga pants, but that's not okay.
But I think you two might agree with me that most of the people we stop to talk to who are selling these things, be they patches or miracle water or whatever, seem to be genuinely believing.
Yeah, and this is the question is, what are people true believers or are they scamming the public? And it's a fairly interesting and important distinction to make, isn't it? And I would say that the one that we stopped at near the end that was selling the probiotics from Japanese people, I have my doubts as to whether or not they believed it or whether that is just a scam. I don't know, and you can't tell. I can't climb inside their head, but it's dangerous nonsense. And if we can go back to the patches, there's a lovely picture of people enthusiastically standing on a beach with these white patches on their backs. And when, because my daughter she doesn't want to be identified, but she was there. And we asked some questions, as did Kate. And I said to her, with this patch that's meant to do pretty much everything, what about cancer? And she said, with quite I thought a high degree of certainty, she said yes. And I said, yes, what? And she said, well, yes. I mean, it uses your own something in your infrared something, whatever it was. But then she said, all you'd have to do is take the patch off on the day I said, would you not need chemotherapy? She said, well, you would just take the patch off on the day of the chemotherapy, I think, because it might do something to the patch. I don't know. And then put it back on. But the thing is, to make these wild, generic claims which with such certainty. Now, she doesn't know why I was saying, what about cancer? For all she knows, I could have it. And in fact, a member of my family at the moment does have it, right? So she doesn't know why. But she was very certain. And that's very dangerous because, to Richard's point as well, it's not cheap.
No. And again, we get back to this point. Are the people there, do they know what they're talking about?
No.
From many points of view. Now, the people selling the patches and the other things, mostly they're just regurgitating what they've been told, right? They don't know science and biology. Yeast is a what?
Yeast is a bacteria. I think the patch people, to me, certainly seemed like true believers. He was showing me video of his dog, that he had put the patches on his dog, and there was video of the dogs, old dogs, walking around arthritically, and then another picture of what appeared to be the same dog with 17 of these patches on its back, just on the hair. I said, have you shaved that to get to the skin? No, they just go on the hair. Of this dog bounding through a field of
daisies.
I think it was a field of just grass.
Yeah. Slow motion. Was it
and
golden retriever? Because they're
no, it wasn't a golden retriever. Sadly, that would have been perfect. And he said, people can say what they like, but animals don't lie. As if I could.
Of course, animals lie. My cats lie every morning. They say they haven't had breakfast after I fed them. But okay, first time going. What did you expect versus what you found?
I didn't expect there to be so many products. I think I expected there to be more. I guess I was coming from a pharmacy conference. I expected there to be a room of posters where people would stand by their poster and then talk about their research, and then I expected there to be sort of a lecture series. I didn't really think it would be stalls of people spruiking. So that was interesting because there was you wouldn't be without a crystal or a deck of tarot cards, would you?
No.
Yeah, no.
Well, if you are, you can buy them there, you see.
I just didn't think there'd be such a lot. It was just a lot. Yeah, I mean, I kept wanting to go, and Richard kept saying, no, you're doing very well. He praised me for my resilience in the face of going to the dark side, and I think I deserved that praise. But I didn't think there'd be so much, and so much repetition. Like, there's so many psychics, and so many tarot card readers, and so many crystals, and so many essential oils. And before I went, I was telling my gym friends I was going today, and they're like, what's the harm? And there's the question. It's always the question, what's the harm? And, of course, as we know, from the moderate to the extreme, you start to get into that sort of thinking. Somebody falls ill, and instead of actually going down the rational route, it's the alluring route because it's simplistic, it's certain, it lacks evidence, but it'll cover everything. So you can take. There was that one thing we saw. What was it? It was like, I can't remember, there was so many of them, but it covered tumours, parasites, heavy metals.
That was the iridologist who had those signs out.
Oh, yes.
I don't know what he was selling, but he was an iridologist.
But there was drops or creams or something.
I didn't see that too clearly. So.
Yeah, that one. I remember we were standing and you said, oh, look, the heavy metals, because as we know, AltMed is obsessed with heavy metals, parasites, and detoxing. And man, so it comes back to this notion of what's the harm. Well, if you start believing anecdote over evidence, then you're on a dangerous, slippery slope if you happen to come across a genuine health issue.
I agree. I would also add to that the harm can be you perhaps are pursuing a traditional Western medicine style treatment for your health concern, and you are also exploring perhaps a heavy metal detox or whatever it is these products are in fact claiming to be. You don't feel like you can tell your physician that you are doing this, but they're not harmless. Just because they're herbal doesn't make them harmless, and they can have interactions, and they can have effects that you don't want. But then if the person treating you doesn't know about it, then you can run into real trouble.
Well, I think that was a very interesting experience for all of us. I'm personally exhausted. What about you, Kate?
No, I'm rejuvenated. I don't know how you can be exhausted. I'm rejuvenated because I now know how to regrow my stem cells and balance my parasites. No, align my parasites? No, I can't remember.
Yeah. I think what's happened to you is you've discovered this lack of stem cells and now they've been rejuvenated. I've just been healed by being in the general atmosphere of it, I feel. Just by sort of moving through the space. I could almost feel the parasites just dropping away from me as I walked. Just dropping out of me. And you were telling me that kinesiology is a real thing and it's only applied kinesiology, which is nonsense.
Yeah.
What's
kinesiology is the science, yes.
Did you know this?
I didn't know this.
Did you know this, Lily?
I thought they were the same thing.
No.
They're not.
Look it up.
No. So I think it's the beginning of a beautiful new friendship that we've
6-monthly.
Yeah, re-meeting to see what we can discover and how. And I'm hoping in the next 6 months that we see some real improvement in your stem cells.
Well, you wouldn't share any of yours with me, so I will have to regenerate using patch.
It's a boundary issue, Kate. They're my stem cells, and I've worked really hard on maintaining them. I detoxed. I got rid of the parasites. They're mine. They're my stem cells. Back off. That's all I've got to say to you. Anyway, that'll be over and out from the combined, what are we calling it?
The
Why
Smart Women's Zone or something.
So the Why Smart Women Zone. So thank you so much, listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Stay smart, stay well, keep your critical thinking hats on. See you soon. Bye. When you're sick, do you avoid taking pharmaceuticals because doctors are all in the pocket of Big Pharma and they're just trying to sell you more drugs to keep you sick? Instead, do you try and get well by taking supplements and vitamins because they're all natural? Well, put this in your turmeric latte. Big Pharma is worth 1.7 trillion, whereas wellness, which incorporates vitamins, supplements, minerals, all manner of wellness products, is worth 6.5 trillion. So who's fooling who? If you'd like to know more about critical thinking and deep dive into some of these knotty life problems, then tune in to the Why Smart Women podcast.
Time once again to head back to those digital archives from around the world, sometimes at Trove at trove.nla.gov.au, but more recently we've been looking over the resources found at Google Newspapers. And last week we were looking at references to CSICOP, the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, as it was once known. And this week we'll follow up with some more references to that organisation. And let's start today with an excerpt from the Daily News, dated the 8th of April 1985, and this comes from Kentucky. And the item is, should we publish astrology column? And this is in the section called Our Opinion. Several US newspapers now publish a disclaimer on their astrology columns declaring for the record that the predictions listed there have no basis in scientific fact and that they should be read for entertainment only. The Daily News is not one of these newspapers. Perhaps we should be, and perhaps every newspaper that publishes an astrology column should have that disclaimer. That's just my personal opinion. The disclaimer is appearing at the request of the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, CSICOP, a Buffalo, New York-based organization that contends that astrology is a pseudoscience at best, with no factual foundation upon which to base its forecasts and no right to such widespread public acceptance. Some of the newspapers that have complied with the request to include disclaimers are the Indianapolis Star, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, the Wilmington News Journal, and the Charleston Times-Courier, and Mattoon Journal-Gazette, both in Illinois. CSICOP first asked newspapers to publish the disclaimer at a press conference in San Francisco last year. It says its request was based upon a Gallup survey that showed that belief in astrology among young people had grown from 40% in 1978 to 55% in 1984. CSICOP followed its public request with a personal letter to every newspaper editor in the United States. Now that's some undertaking, wow. The letter was accompanied by an article by CSICOP Chairman Paul Kurtz, Professor of Philosophy at the State University of New York at Buffalo, and a widely known U.S. humanist, and fellow Andrew Fracknoy, Executive Officer of the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, on the scientific evidence for astrology. In addition to the newspapers printing the disclaimer, hundreds more have printed CSICOP's request as a letter to the editor. The Kurtz-Fracknoy article, or stories on the subject written by their own staff. Many editors have contacted CSICOP directly, the group says. Several who declined to print the disclaimer reportedly said they thought that placement of the column in the comics section was enough of an indication of their opinion of it, and that their readers were sophisticated enough to judge the value of the so-called predictions. Jack Foster, editor of the West Palm Beach, Florida Evening News, wrote, CSICOP, I agree with your point about astrology columns, and I wish we didn't have one, but killing an astrology column is an invitation to get your building burnt down. CSICOP says it also receives some negative responses. Quote, I'm darn tired of people like yourself telling other people what they should and shouldn't do, end quote, wrote Randall Howell, editor of the Mesobai Daily News. Quote, you're the kind of person who doesn't like to believe in Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or the Great Pumpkin, end quote. Quote, we believe that scientific research does not bear out the claims of astrology, end quote, said CSICOP Chairman Kurtz. Quote, editors have a responsibility to their readers to make them aware of that fact. We believe in truth in labelling, end quote. CSICOP, publisher of the Skeptical Inquirer magazine, was founded in 1976 to provide scientific, objective views of paranormal claims. Hundreds of scientists, scholars and skeptics are members. CSICOP has affiliates in 9 states and 10 countries, the group says. For our part, we acknowledge the profoundly specious nature of astrology and its dubious benefits to mankind. We also concede the great reader interest in astrology columns and their demonstrable, negligible harm to readers. Unlike publishing of sports gambling information, which is directly tied to illegal behaviour, astrology seems to us to be essentially so much harmless fun. And the world has far too little of that these days. And there we are, the opinion of the Daily News way back in 1985. My goodness me, 40 years ago. Now here's a report here from the Kentucky New Era, dated the 27th of May 1997, by Cecil Herndon, New Era columnist. CSICOP's plan defies laws of probability and science. We have before us a news release from a group that calls itself the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, or appropriately enough, CSICOP. It is likely you've never heard of CSICOP, and even more likely you'll never read the details of the release anywhere but here. Chances are between slim and none that you'll hear it read on your favourite television network newscast. That is, unless CSICOP's plan, which in our minds defies the laws of probability, if not science, works as intended. CSICOP is concerned about what it sees as the, quote, infatuation with the paranormal increasingly demonstrated in television programming, end quote. The committee announced its establishment of a, quote, media stock fund, end quote, to which it is seeking contributions to fund the operation of its Council for Media Integrity. Contributions to fund, according to the news release, will be used to purchase stock in the major networks' parent media conglomerates. This will allow CSICOP, as a shareholder, to attend shareholder meetings, submit viewpoints to shareholder publications, and sponsor shareholder resolutions. Quote, the fund, end quote, says CSICOP Chairman Paul Kurtz, quote, will allow us to make shareholder meetings into accountability sessions for the media giants when they package superstition and pseudoscience as fact, end quote. Kurtz says his group isn't asking that TV producers not run the shows in question and surely doesn't wish to censor the media. It just asks that they provide some balance, some appreciation of the scientific approach. I'll just break in here and say good luck to that. A noble plan. I don't know whatever became of this plan, but the dying TV media in this country at least would not forego their magic and astrology and psychics and whatever. We aren't sure which particular programs he has in mind, although he mentions that his group is, quote, appalled by the number of documentaries, which are really entertainment programs presenting fringe science as real science, end quote. And I just break in here quickly and say this reminds me of that fine documentary by Brian Dunning, Science Friction, which I encourage you to see. Of course, television is an entertainment medium, although informative programming is available, but Even television's treatment of serious subjects carries an element of entertainment, which helps explain why people increasingly get their information from television rather than by reading. CSICOP apparently believes people are being duped by what they see on television. Shucks, half of what we see on television defies science, logic and imagination. CSICOP has its own publication, Skeptical Inquirer. Having read the magazine from time to time, we know that it promotes the notion that there is a scientific explanation for every apparent phenomenon under the sun, and above it as well. Oh yeah? We'd like the explanation of why sewer lines inevitably clog on weekdays, holidays, or when company comes. Or why golf shots carry further over land than over water. Some people say that the latter is because the air is heavier over water, but we doubt that theory would withstand scientific scrutiny. Anyway, if you'd like to do your bit for science, the address is P.O. Box 703, Amherst, New York 14226. This is our own in-kind contribution. Meanwhile, if CSICOP really wants to promote truth in television, the place to start is with commercials, the most entertaining and least informative of TV offerings. And finally, from 2002, on the 26th of October, in the Daily Gazette, but looks like a republishing from the St. Petersburg Times. And where's the Daily Gazette? Let me have a look. And it says on the masthead here, the independent voice of the capital region. So it's from New York, in fact. Old Fort provides skeptics, believers, with a ghostly grist. And this is a story by David Ballingrud. Amherst. Old Fort Niagara has a ghost, of course, and that is as it should be. It would be hard to imagine a more likely home for a spirit. Perched on a rocky shore where the Niagara River flows north into Lake Ontario, the 300-year-old fort seems perfect for haunting. Long, dark stone hallways open into shadowy chambers on either side. No sunlight penetrates here. The place is musty and foreboding on the brightest day. Fort Niagara's ghost is that of an 18th century French soldier, headless now following swordplay over a beautiful Indian maiden. His chopped-up body was tossed into the well on the old fort, his head into Lake Ontario a few feet away. Now, when the moon is full, the ghost rises from the well and goes looking. Well, if you get the drift. No one has ever seen the ghost, and no one takes the old legend very seriously, just something to entertain visiting school kids. Why then is Doug DeCreutz feeling so creepy? DeCreutz has worked at Old Fort Niagara for 9 years. He is the Director of Research and Special Projects for the non-profit association that operates the fort with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation and Historical Preservation. He dismissed the legend of Headless Frenchman, quote, "We use it as a teaching aid," end quote, but admits to being a little unnerved by some more contemporary events. Quote, "The fort has a few bad places," end quote, he says. Quote, "There are rooms and especially a hallway in the back where a lot of people, mostly women, have told me that they feel uncomfortable. They get out as soon as possible," end quote. As DeCreutz speaks, Joe Nickell scribbles furiously in his notebook. Once again, we read the adventures of Joe Nickell. Nickell is a senior research fellow at CSICOP, the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal. He has come to Old Fort Niagara to do research on the headless French soldier, specifically how such legends are born and how they evolve. As he listens to DeCreutz, however, he realizes he has come across something much better, a real, live, up-to-date claim by credible people of what appears to be paranormal activity. Old Fort Niagara is a piecemeal collection of buildings and fortifications, added to by French, English and American armies and navies over 3 centuries. During the colonial wars in North America and until the building of the Erie Canal, a fort at the mouth of the Niagara River provided or prevented access to the Great Lakes. It was a major choke point for commerce and war. The first structure of the original fort was built in 1726 and overlooks the lake. It is now called the French Castle and looks like a ghost story movie set. It is in this building that the Coits and other fort employees say that they have some nasty jolts. Lights that danced in the deserted hallways, papers that moved from place to place when no one is around. Okay. Reflections of people who aren't there. All have been reported by fort employees, the Coit says. This unexpected opportunity for investigation pleases Nickell greatly, and he begins working through a long list of questions. He and his employer take this kind of thing seriously, but he adds, with a smile, quote, "I wouldn't want people to know how much I enjoy this job," end quote. CSICOP, pronounced CSICOP, CSICOP, pronounced CSICOP, is a non-profit organization founded in 1976 by Paul Kurtz, Emeritus Professor of Philosophy at the State University of New York at Buffalo, and a few other promoters of science literacy such as Carl Sagan and Isaac Asimov. With 80 fellows, 60 consultants, and an annual budget of about $11 million, CSICOP today wages a public relations campaign against what it calls fringe and junk science, publishing its opinions and findings in its bi-monthly magazine, The Skeptical Inquirer. For the last quarter of a century, it has investigated claims of, you name it, UFOs, alien abductions, crop circles, various manifestations of Bigfoot, religious icons that cry, religious icons that bleed, mediums, magic healers, and levitating furniture. And, of course, ghosts. Why? Because someone's got to do it in this overhyped world, says Kurtz. Quote, "Pseudoscience has become so popular in the world it competes with real science. You can consider us a kind of consumer protection agency," end quote. And now this next paragraph has to do more with Joe Nickell. His bio says he is a former professional stage magician at the Houdini Magical Hall of Fame, a former private investigator for the Pinkerton Security Agency, and the author of 16 books, including works on the Shroud of Turin and on ink and handwriting analysis. Now 56, he is a self-described Vietnam refusenik, pardoned by Jimmy Carter. He boasts a doctorate in English literature from the University of Kentucky and a frequent guest on talk shows from Jerry Springer to Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious Universe. He has spent a night in a haunted house for the Discovery Channel and tromped out crop circles for NBC News. This month, he is rolling through the German countryside touring haunted castles with the European Skeptics Congress. It's important that people understand that he is a skeptic, not a debunker, he says. Quote, "I don't like to be called a debunker," end quote, he says. That might be the final effect of what we do, but if we are going to be credible when we look at the paranormal, we have to be fair, end quote. Well, there we go. A few more references to CSICOP in the digital newspaper archives. And just looking through the results here, there are many. Let's see, some of the other headlines say here, Merely Myths from 1988. Another one from 1994, Psychic Geller Can't Bend Court, Faces Fine. Something about there was a full moon that night. Another report here from 1986. Here's one from 1996. Professor believes people are falling for UFO stories too easily, and it really just goes on and on. Many results. I don't know if there are hundreds, but there were certainly many. The bunkers seek concrete proof of the supernatural is another one from 1985. So I imagine that in the not-too-distant future we might revisit CSICOP and look at some more stories. What's this one from 1992? Did E.T. make an appearance in 1947? That must have to do with Roswell, I guess. And it's always good to read about the exploits of Joe Nickell. Late lamented Joe Nickell. And reading about Joe and other things just goes to show that when you do a search in the TROVE Archives, or Google newspapers in this case, well, you never know what you might find. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast this week. Maynard, filming's going well today.
It certainly has. I'm just over here. Hang on. Oh, hang on. I'm just inflating one of my inflatable dinosaurs here for the final scene of the show. And yes, it's been great. And what a show you've had here. There was drama.
Yes.
There was excitement.
Yes.
There was a complete lack of psychics, really.
Yes.
You know, I mean, how do you know what's going on? I mean,
you don't.
I mean, look,
It's a mystery.
You don't look up. Yeah, it's a bit like Toya. It's a mystery. You don't look up your horoscope. You don't consult your psychics. How do you know what's going on, Richard?
I just make it up as I go along, Maynard.
That's the clue.
That's the clue.
That's the clue.
But I know what's coming up next week. Kate Thomas is back with her segment Woo Watch. I wonder what woo she'll be watching next week. Adrian...
She doesn't hold back.
No.
Like her language.
It's
really. Her language, look, there's only one word for her, ribald. Her ribald language about this sort of stuff, she doesn't hold back. I can see, like, she'll be on Sky News before you know it.
In one form or another, Maynard's right. The Skeptics News with Adrian Hill will be on next week, of course. And, well, I'm not sure what else. We'll all have to tune in because we can't look into the future.
No, you can't. But you know one thing, it'll be a pretty packed show. And Richard works really hard on this show, so don't be a cheapskate. Hit the tin. And, buy him a coffee or even better, just become a very low-level Patreon subscriber. That would be really good. I've got Patreon subscribers for...
There's a tin. The Golden Girls. Yeah.
Yes, we'll give you a choice of tins to hit. We've
All
got
right.
2 tins.
Yep.
We've got the Wonder Woman tin from the 70s. Yep. And we've got the Golden Girls lunchbox, which is a tin. Why you would make a Golden Girls lunchbox in 2025, I don't know. But it's a new Golden Girls lunchbox. Oh, I like that.
That's better.
That's it. Here you go. Oh, yeah.
That's the next hit. All right.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. A lot to look forward to next week. But from Maynard's International Studio, this is Maynard and Richard signing off.
I heard your last show, and I'm sure it will be. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for episodes and show notes with links going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone on Facebook, X, TikTok and YouTube by clicking the links at our homepage, together with links to support the show financially via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of the Skeptic Zone podcast or any other skeptical organisation.
Hey, Kat.
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm not in Skookum Studios right now. You can probably maybe hear a difference, I hope.
Only the well-trained ear will be able to detect that you are not at Skookum Studios.
Yeah, I'm sitting in a hotel overlooking the Vancouver Harbor. It's beautiful. And then Richard, of course, asks us to do a dice game. And I'm thinking, well, I guess Kat will have to just take control of this because I don't travel with a dice until I remembered I do.
Yeah, I've taken to traveling with dice as well. We're such nerds.
Yeah. Can you see what this one is?
I think it's a D20.
It is a D20, and it's one Richard gave me, I think, one of the first times I met him. And it's a big one. It's not a little one. And it's orange. It's a lovely, bright, orangey red. I don't know what color it is. It's in between there. Depends on the light.
It's a Halloween orange with black numbering.
Yes, exactly. So I get to have a turn. You got the dice ready, Kat?
I do have dice ready because, if nothing else, we need a sound effect. Oh, and I was going to tell you, do you remember back in episode 882 at the end of August when I debunked a ghost story?
Yes.
Well, just yesterday, the Fairmont Banff Springs went and posted the truth about the ghost bride on their website. And it says it was likely created by a, quote, creative staff member or guest over the years, end quote.
Woohoo!
Now, they still do offer the ghost tours, and I highly recommend them because I've been on them and they're awesome. It's really great storytelling. I recommend anyone who gets a chance to go do it, but I'm like, is this a coincidence that coming up on Halloween and their famous ghost stories, and here's the truth, because we've been called out on the Skeptic Zone.
Maybe they listen to the Skeptic Zone. That would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be. They should credit you.
Right? I'm always shocked to find out that people listen to me ramble.
There you go.
But on to the dice game. We've got a time limit here, don't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we do. We have a time limit. So I think, what did he say, an hour?
An hour and 15 minutes, maybe, I think we get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so do you want to go first then?
Oh, sure. Pick a number of sides that you want me to roll.
Oh, go for a D6. Be really boring.
Oh, boring. Okay, so pick your number.
I'm going to pick a 6.
Ooh, well, then I'm going to pick a 1 just to be opposites. Dead in the middle, it's a 3.
Well, that's not good. Okay, maybe hey, Psychic Penny.
Ooh, is she around?
Can you come over here? Hello.
Oh, hello, Psychic Penny. I have a crystal ball right here.
Oh, I need to borrow that. I have one on order because my other one fogged up.
Oh, no. Makes it very difficult to predict numbers if the ball is hazy.
Exactly. So if I get it wrong, you will know why. So I borrowed Adrian's D20. What would you like to roll?
I would like it to be a 19.
And Psychic Penny predicts it will be a 13.
Does Adrian want another guess too?
I'm going to guess it's a 5 for Susan Gerbeck.
Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go. Well, apparently Psychic Penny is not very psychic, and neither are the rest of us. It's an 8.
I would laugh. I thought you were going to say 18, and I'm like, Psychic Penny and Adrian's combined is 18.
There you go. We could have made that work, but no. All right, third round.
Third round. What's this a 1? Ooh, it's my D20. It's blood splattered.
For Halloween.
Yeah, totally for Halloween.
I'm going to choose Psychic Penny's number. I really like 13 too.
Okay. You know I stick with 19 because I'm ridiculous.
Oh, let me have a guess, please.
Yes, Psychic Penny. I hadn't forgotten you.
Seeing how Adrian stole my 13, I have to go with lucky 7.
Ooh, good guess, Psychic Penny. All right, here we go. And it is 5 for Susan Gerbeck. You got it. It was just, the wrong roll.
I was predicting the future.
You were. The future, not the current future.
Exactly. Psychic Penny, I think you need to go away. You're not doing very well. I think you need to go and realign your chakras or something because you're a little off today.
Go cleanse the area with some sage.
Yes, I shall do that. I think it's because of the hazy crystal ball. I don't believe in chakras.
All right, for the supplemental, girl, you're up. The D20. So what are we going to do?
I think I will do 13 again because good things happen in 3s.
I'm sticking with 19.
And you're going to do 19 because good things happen in 3s?
Yes.
All right. And we'll put in a vote for Susan at 5.
Okay.
10.
10. Ooh.
We did not do well at all, other than me predicting the future.
So this week's winning numbers for the more psychic people are 3, 8, 5, and 10. How did you do?
Anyhow, that was fun.
Always a pleasure, Adrian.
Yeah, it was fun. Talk to you soon, Kat.
Talk to you soon.